That was the presentation of the much-awaited union budget, full budget for the Modi government 3.0 by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Host of areas where investments has been made for the vision of developed India by 2047, but the best of it she perhaps had kept for the last. But no income tax for personal income tax group. There's going to be no income tax for earning up to rupees 12 lakh. This is as per the new tax regime. So that is going to be the highlight, much talked about, much expected rebate and relaxation in taxation that people were looking for. Finance Minister indeed has given it to them in this budget. Sakal?
Especially when we're speaking about the expectations, relief to the middle class in terms of tax relief / reduction was one of the top priority areas, and I think she dealt with that aspect towards the end of a budget presentation, which actually means that more money in the hands of middle class. Let's quickly take a look at the operative portions of the budget and the focus areas. Focus to accelerate growth, Viksit Bharat vision, where there's going to be focus on poverty eradication, youth, farmers as well as women. These are the big takeaways.
The Finance Minister also announced Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, a new scheme for the empowerment of farmers. Union Budget 2025, Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana to cover 100 districts in the country. In addition to the reforms that have been unleashed for the benefit of the farmers, Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana will come into play. 1.7 crore farmers across the country are going to be benefited from this new scheme announced in the Union Budget 2025 by Finance Minister. India's growth and reforms, she says, set the stage for Sabka Vikas in the next 5 years.
In the next 5 years, the country will be provided with unique opportunities, wherein she also announced the Makhana Board. Makhana Board, which actually will be set up in Bihar.
Host of development interventions for the East, particularly for the state of Bihar, to enhance processing and value addition. We know makhana production in Bihar traditionally is also an important input to enhance processing and value addition. Also, Kisan Credit Card facilitates loan for farmers. This is going to aid farmer empowerment in the agri sector.
Garib Youth, Annadata and Nari, that's how she began her budget presentation, where focus has been, as always, on Atmanirbharta mission for pulses as well, which means self-reliance India. Aspirations of the Viksit Bharat inspire us. These are the key highlights of the speech of Finance Minister. Viksit Bharat being central to the whole narrative, where 2025 budget is dedicated to some transformative reforms across various sectors. New schemes have been announced, with a term loan of 2 crore for women in particular, in tandem with the women-led development vision of Indian government. First-time entrepreneurs from the lower middle class and the backward classes will also be benefited. Also, investment limit for MSME classification to be made 2.5 times, but turnover limit is also will see a spike.
Other highlights: new classification criteria for MSMEs, National Institute for Food Tech Entrepreneurship Management in Bihar to turn India into the food basket for the world. That's the vision. 5 national centers of excellence for skilling with global expertise have also been proposed. Over 100 new places to get regional airports. Udan scheme has been expanded significantly. 15,000 crore rupees fund for quick completion of about a lakh housing units. 10,000 seats also to be added in medical colleges across the country. As far as additional infrastructure in existing IITs is concerned, that is also in focus. IIT Patna in particular is proposed to be expanded.
Heal in India campaign will be launched. Part of this budget, short-term loans for 7.7 crore farmers, including dairy farmers and fishermen. They are going to be benefited by such schemes, where FDI limit for the insurance sector will be seeing a spike to 100%. New income tax bill to be introduced next week. And also, new central KYC registry is going to be part of this budget. The key reforms that will be implemented, and revised fiscal deficit for the fiscal 2025 stands at 4%. 36 life-saving drugs exempted from basic custom duty. This is the pharmaceutical sector that we are looking at. Where also, besides that, indirect tax measures will see good promotion of experts. Limit for tax deduction for senior citizens has doubled to rupees 1 lakh. Annual limit of rupees 2.4 lakh for TDS on rent, which is raised to rupees 6 lakh, and no income tax payable. That's the good news on income up to rupees 12 lakh, as Shubhendu just spoke about. Shubhendu.
We're scanning through the highlights of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's speech. Host of areas where intervention has been made with the larger vision of creating a developed India. And Shama Mishra, our correspondent, a colleague in Mumbai, joins us at the moment. Shama, several takeaways, but one that was perhaps most anticipated. No income tax up to rupees 12 lakhs. Take us through how the budget provisions are being received in Mumbai and elsewhere. All right, we'll connect with Shama in just a bit. As we mentioned, host of areas where interventions have been made for a 360-degree development plan. At the end, she also mentioned about the most, perhaps most exciting tax proposal, no income tax for individual personal taxpayers for up to rupees 12 lakhs. Also, we are scanning through the highlights about, this is the old tax regime, 8 to 12 lakh 10%, 12 to 16 lakh 15%. Tax regime. These are the tax slabs which will come into force in the coming financial year. 16 to 20 lakh rupees, 20%. 20 to 25 lakh rupees, 25%.
Which means more money in the hands of middle class, where we see a big reduction of tax for the middle class.
Above, above rupees 25 lakhs is 30%.
Yes.
If we look at the new tax regime, we'll see the manner in which this new exciting tax proposal comes into play. Under the new tax regime, tax on income up to rupees 4 lakh is 0%.
Besides the tax benefits auguring well for the middle class, from 8 to 12 lakh income group, 10% tax and rupees 12 to 16 lakh, we're looking at 15%. Rupees 16 to 20 lakh, these are basically the slabs, 20%, and 20 to 25 lakh income group, 25%. And those who have income above rupees 25 lakh, they're looking at 30% mark. So overall, good news when it comes to the tax rebate for middle class. And under new tax regime, there's going to be tax on income up to rupees 4 lakh. There's no tax on that. So 4 and below. Happy. Let's also take a look at the other big takeaways. Viksit Bharat inspires us, and many of these growth spurring schemes point in that direction. Aspirations of Viksit Bharat inspire us 2047. That's the bigger agenda. Developed India. Confidence in India's ability has grown. High points of Finance Minister's speech, aspirations of the Viksit Bharat being met there. She also, in fact, began, overall we can say, Shubhendu, a very futuristic and inclusive budget. She also spoke about how in the next 5 years there's going to be unique opportunities provided for India in various sectors. There's rationalization of tax, spurring economic growth. Those were the expectations. Most of them have been met. Of course, employment, relief to middle class, we talked about that, and also trust-based regulatory framework. New income tax bill, we're going to also examine those salient features with the experts in our studio. Yes, go ahead.
And these are some of the highlights of what Finance Minister just spoke about. New classification criteria for MSMEs. National Institute of Food Tech Entrepreneurship Management in Bihar. That has been presented. 5 national centers of excellence for skilling with global expertise. Over 100 new places to get regional airports. So expansion of Udan scheme in a significant manner. Rupees 15,000 crore fund for quick completion of 1 lakh housing units. Medical college infrastructure has also been expanded by some 10,000 seats that has been proposed. Besides additional infrastructure in IITs to increase the number of students. IIT Patna, Bihar in focus as far as development interventions are concerned in these elections. Heal in India campaign will be launched alongside also promoting tourism in the country. Short-term loans for 7.7 crore farmers. Once again, let's try and connect with our correspondent in Mumbai, Shama Mishra. Shama, I hope you can hear us now. Take us through how the budget proposals are being received, particularly the one about no income tax up to rupees 12 lakhs.
Shama.
Well, yes, Shubhendu. Now we were expecting that this time around as well.
36 life-saving drugs have been exempted from basic customs duty. Also 6 life-saving drugs. Indirect tax measures to promote exports, where we see a limit for tax deduction for senior citizens, which has been doubled to rupees 1 lakh. So good news for senior citizens. Annual limit of 2.4 lakh for TDS on rent, which has been now raised to 6 lakh. No income tax payable on income up to 12 lakhs and aspirations of Viksit Bharat. These, in fact, now on your screens are the highlights of Finance Minister's speech. She's already presented the budget. She began with farmers making country food basket of the world. And this budget is going to be dedicated to the Garib. That means those below poverty line or downtrodden or marginalized sections of society. She spoke about youth. She spoke about Annadata being the farmers and also Nari. Trust-based regulatory framework. There's been a thrust on that, and Viksit Bharat, which looks at, in a big way, eradicating poverty, more educational opportunities and employment opportunities for youth. Finance Minister also announced Dhanya Krishi Yojana, a big boost to the agro sector. And there's been also a push to infrastructure push. If you look at Shubhendu, an overall education sector, especially the IITs and IIMs, building on the National Action Plan on toys is also part of the agenda. Talking about farmers, 1.7 crore farmers will be benefited by these recently launched schemes. India's growth and reform set stage for Sabka Vikas in the next 5 years. That's the current government's mantra for the next 5 to 10 years. And Finance Minister also announced the Makhana board in Bihar. We'll talk about that as well and the significance of this, which will be set up in the Indian state of Bihar. Behind the lower fiscal deficit, there is also an expenditure squeeze. She talked about that as well. And also time to file tax returns has been extended. Rationalization of TDS, that was also part of the wish list that has also been brought in. And we will be, in fact, very quickly joined by some guest experts in our studios. We will be talking to them as well. Kisan Atmanirbharta mission for Pulse has been launched. So besides defense, we have self-reliance mission for pulses as well, program to be spread over 6 years. There's a time-bound Prasanjit Basu, senior economist, is in our Delhi studio. And also welcoming Shibuboy Bhattacharjee, senior economic journalist. I can see both of them smiling there. But starting with you, sir. Yes, has it pretty much met the expectations? We will specifically talk about tax later, but your overview, inclusive and futuristic?
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of the reduction in income tax rates, it, I think, goes beyond what expectations were. There's a dramatic reduction. The fact that income up to 12 lakh, that is 1 lakh a month, will be exempt from tax is a huge step. So it's actually, it's actually about 12.75 lakhs, in fact, that is exempt from tax. That is a massive step. There's a substantial reduction across the board in all tax rates, personal income tax, including the top rate being reduced to 30%. I think this is excellent. If India is to compete and if India is to attract back the NRI talent in technology, in sciences, even in things like finance, then reducing the tax rates is exactly the way to go. So I think that's futuristic. In terms of the spending aspects, there's a lot of focus on the broad agriculture sector, which including things like food processing. I like the fact that Bihar gets a lot of focus. That is India's poorest state. You definitely need. I mean, the poorest state needs as many legs up as possible. And I think that as you see Bangladesh in political turmoil, there's an opportunity for states like Bihar, Orissa, West Bengal, Assam to attract a lot of investment from government and other manufacturers who are focused in Bangladesh and are being politically persecuted. So there's an opportunity there as well. So there is, in fact, a lot in this budget that is very, very positive. I think markets will respond very positively to it. And also, I like the fact that there's a very focused attempt at reducing customs duties, reducing the inversion of customs duty rates, to encourage manufacturing and value addition. So I think those are the real major focus areas. Customs duty reduction as a means of plugging India into global supply chains, and of course substantially reducing income tax rates in order to provide a substantial boost to private consumption. Private consumption has been relatively weak. We need that to pick up, and I think this budget provides all of that.
Okay. Yes, I welcome my colleague Mark to take this broadcast forward, because Mark has been keenly not following this budget, of course, but previous budgets as well. But Mark, your take first, pretty much in continuation to previous budgets, but overall Viksit Bharat mission central to various reforms and initiatives that have been launched, especially in fresh sectors,
clearly
emerging sectors.
Clearly there is a direction in the budget. There have been engines that have been identified: agriculture, MSME, investment and exports, and of course a big push to consumption. The middle class was wanting something. This is the budget that they've got. 12 lakhs is the exemption amount. It's huge. Lots of people will feel that relief, and they'll put that money into various things which will lead to an increase in demand, which will also increase supply and improve our growth. Hopefully, let's turn to Mr. Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee to get his inputs on that. So, I mean, yesterday, in fact, we spoke a little bit about demand pull, right? Yes. So you think this is going to really be a massive pull?
Is your wish list met?
My wish list was in terms of the technology sectors.
Okay.
You know, we are, in fact, as Mark was right, pointing out, we have a huge challenge coming up globally. Look at the way things are changing in USA, look at the way things are changing on the artificial intelligence. So the budget needed to give that sense that while consumption, obviously we'll have a lot to talk about, but whether the technology sectors, those have been adequately addressed, you know, sprinkled with. So where I see the technology sectors, you know, sectors like the deep tech fund of funds,
right,
the manufacturing mission with climate friendly technology, the AI centers of excellence which have been further pushed up, and most important, I mean, I would say within that is the push for the nuclear power. The finance minister said that we want 5 small modular reactors to be in place by 2033. The Civil Nuclear Act will be amended. You know, these are very major statements of intent in terms of what the central government wants to do in terms of pushing both the technological paradigm as well as financing it. The asset monetization plan, which has been again renewed for the 5 years. I think that's an important thing. The PPP, the 3-year pipeline for projects, these are what investors would wish to know. That do we have strong investment ideas coming out of the budget? Because remember, there's a budget that's going to be the blueprint for the next 5 years for this government. So essentially, do we have that space? Have we thought through the investment plans for the government going forward?
Indeed. Talking about investment, Mr. Basu, this budget didn't seem to mention anything about capital expenditure, but then, you know, the asset management, asset monetization is a process of getting in another 10 lakh crore rupees for the next 5 years. But then if you looked at the receipts and expenditure statement there, it says that CapEx has gone up to 15 lakh crore rupees. That's a significant amount, would you say?
That's a huge increase. So now I think the important thing here is that, you know, to me as an economist, the first thing I look at is what is happening to the fiscal deficit. The fiscal deficit was projected to be 4.9% of GDP. It is now, you know, the revised estimate takes it down to 4.8. The strongest quarter for revenue is still to come.
Yes.
If you look at the numbers up to December, I look at a 12-month moving average, it is already 4.9%, 12-month moving average.
Yes.
And in fact, if you look at the first 9 months of the fiscal year, only 56%. So 9 months is 75% of the fiscal year. Only 56% of the deficit has been hit. So you're very likely to get a number even lower than 4.8. But the point is that they are then going to reduce it next year to 4.4. I think it'll be even lower than that. It'll be much closer to 4, which is, from an economic standpoint, that is the most positive feature. The fact that you are seeing fiscal deficit coming down quite rapidly. As an economist and a person of liberal, of an economic liberal bent, I would have also preferred to see more action on privatization.
Right.
So there's nothing there. For the last 4 years, we haven't seen enough on nothing on privatization. Okay, anyway,
Mr.
asset
Bhatt,
monetization,
asset monetization
the
is a
next best
process.
thing.
Okay.
Asset monetization is a substantial thing. It doesn't catch the eye, but clearly it is continuing. It's a continuing process that was also announced by Nirmala Sitharaman 4 years ago. There were two aspects to her announcement: asset monetization and privatization. Privatization has been shelved, it looks like, but asset monetization continues.
Okay.
And that is helpful. And I think that the reduction in the whole structure of interest rates, of income tax rates, is very positive.
I think that's one of the biggest talking points of this budget. We will talk about that as well. But let's quickly cut across live to Mumbai, the financial capital, because we're getting some reactions, first-hand reactions from the industry where markets open good today, Shama. But then, well, the up and down may continue. But over to you. What are you picking up? You're joining us live from CII in Mumbai, India's commercial capital. Over to you. Financial capital Mumbai. Let's see what Mumbaikars. Yes, go
we
ahead.
were listening to the entire broadcast, entire announcement, and towards the end, we started, getting that feeling, anxious feeling that are we not addressed? Is the middle income group still not getting addressed? But then comes a banger, and then 12 lakh, the announcement and the decision of exempting people who earn up to 12 lakh, that is totally tax free. That was something we were all looking forward to, and it was better than expected. What more industry is getting and how industry is reacting, we have Rishi Kumar Bagla with us. He's the deputy chairperson of CII Western Region. Let's talk to him. Sir, your initial reaction and how would you say the budget was?
The budget was absolutely perfect for the aspirational India. I would say that because our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has given a target that India has to become a Viksit Bharat by 2047. And in order to become a Viksit Bharat 2047, we have to take a directional budget. And this budget has been absolutely in that direction. Because if we have to become Viksit, we need to do two things. We need to spur the domestic demand, and we need to be globally competitive as far as manufacturing is concerned. And in this budget, I can see very clearly, to spur the global demand, a huge impact has been given to the rural areas and the agri sector, so that ours being an agrarian economy, large part of our population is still involved into agriculture. They will have more money in their hands. And so also the other part of the salaried income people, where a salaried person drawing up to 12.75 lakh rupees per annum will have to pay no tax. Now this is an absolutely fantastic move, giving a lot of money into the hands of the masses, because it is the masses that will spend. And that is how the manufacturing will grow, that is how the employment will grow, and that is how India will become competitive. Apart from this, a lot of measures have been taken by this budget to ensure that India becomes competitive by way of ease of doing business, by giving more money in the hands of the people, by innovation, and providing a lot of impetus on skilling and employment. This would make India in the right direction, going towards a Viksit Bharat. And this is what I say, a budget we want. India, we want budget.
All right. So Sakal, yes, industry has approved, and the markets also, if you're talking about markets, the markets are actually flat right now, somewhere around 0.40%, 0.44%, around both BSE and NSE, they are trading at that. So the market has not, either it's not disapproved nor approved, but it's a flat position. So overall, we could say Mumbai
I like
has
the way you're
approved of
putting
it.
it up.
Common person,
Yes,
common man has
Shama.
approved of it, and
Disapproved or not approved. In fact, let me take that point to Prasanjit ji. Yes, you're also smiling there. So, well, is it are we just jumping the gun when it comes to quick market reaction to the whole budget presentation and the decisions or schemes?
The market is always a bit confused. So
The first thing
We give
is
it
that
some time to settle.
the market rose sharply and then has fallen off. So at the moment it looks almost flat. which is actually, to my mind, a somewhat surprising reaction,
Okay.
given that we have a substantial reduction in the fiscal deficit. From a market standpoint, the most important, and especially from the standpoint of monetary policy, RBI is going to be meeting next week. So they, I think, will be enthused by the fact that the fiscal deficit is coming down, supposed to be 4.4% of GDP in the next fiscal year. In my view, it will be even less than that, but we're on a path to substantial reduction in the fiscal deficit. That will give comfort to the RBI and allow the MPC to cut rates, as it has almost hinted that it will do at next week's meeting. So if the markets are not yet enthused, then by the time the MPC meets and after it announces the decision on Friday, hopefully the market will respond positively. But I think for consumption, for private consumption to pick up, you do need to see some reduction in personal income tax rates. That should provide a boost. And I think a lot has been done in the budget to provide support to various aspects of the rural economy. So rural consumption is already doing reasonably well this year. It'll get a further boost from this. And urban consumption has been relatively weak over the past year. That, I think, will get the boost from reduction of personal income tax rates. So from an economic standpoint, this budget is a clear positive.
Indeed. And we have with us Dr. Rajat Kathuria, Dean and Professor of Economics at Shiv Nadar University. Thank you for being with us. Let's look at it from, maybe the markets are missing the fact that CapEx was not publicly, personally announced by the finance minister. Last time she made a big announcement right at the start of her budget. This time the big announcement seems to be the 12 lakhs, tax exemption limit. What do you think? I mean, where is the money coming from for infrastructure development?
So I think the markets sort of are, immediately they go up. But once the details come through and they recognize where the rupee is coming from, where the rupee is going, I think there's a little bit of a moderation. So over time, I think as Prasanjit is saying, over time, the market will probably be able to absorb sort of much more of what is written in the budget. Plus, I think the budget is one place where the finance minister announces reforms for the economy, where the rupee is coming from, tax rate rationalizations, customs duty rationalization, asset monetization plan. I think that's one place. And I think the details, the I's will be dotted and the T's will be crossed over a period of time. The budget is not the only place where reforms happen. So one will be able to identify where the money is going to come from. But I think the overall message that is coming through in this budget is, I think, a continuation of what had happened in July last year. And the aim is to look at sort of a developed country in 2047.
Yes.
And there, I think the budget is high on rhetoric, but it's also high on detail. Right? So it's high on rhetoric and, make for India, make in India, heal in India. And I think those are the right noises because, of course, the finance minister has to provide a signal, or has to provide a narrative where we are going, and we are going towards the Viksit Bharat in 2047. And I think Viksit Bharat in 2047 is a grave sort of challenge for us, and we should try and achieve what we can. But I think that's the narrative that has come through. And then there are details. What is missing for us to be a developed country? What is in India that you see today that sort of is a challenge to being recognized as a developed country? So you go to your cities, you go to middle class, you look at governance, you look at the quality of life. All these are inputs into a developed country. And I think coming back from sort of a global view to what the budget is trying to do in this regard is that urban governance, of course these are things that needed to be done long ago, but I'm glad that these are happening now. Urban governance, there's something in urban governance. There's something on governance, very importantly, both on city governance, on general governance, as well as on tax administration. There's a lot that the finance minister has spoken about, how important governance is. Now, when you look at a developed country, you recognize it. When you look at India, Does the image of a developed country come into your mind? I would say not now. But what are the things that need to improve?
But we are on course.
We are on course. Exactly. That's
and
what
I
I'm
think
saying.
we are moving at a very fast pace and accelerated growth. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. We have one more special guest standing by there at the CII headquarters there in Mumbai, India's financial capital. Shama, over to you. And that part on the urban governance and industry's thumbs up on the measures, the new measures, especially in the emerging sectors. If you remember, we spoke about that in the morning prior to the budget presentation. So are Mumbaikars in general and the industry captains in particular happy?
They are happy. They are definitely happy. And as you and me are wearing a green color, we could say this is a green flag, and we did get a good budget this time around. Well, we are also talking about, something about the MSMEs. And earlier in the morning, when we had spoken, we did speak about how India is wanting to establish itself as a global competitive, hub. And MSME plays a very important role. We also spoke about MSME. Now we have an MSME person with us. He's an expert. We have Sudhir Mutalik with us. He's the founder and managing director of founder and CEO of Positive Metering Pumps, and he'll speak about MSMEs. So, sir, MSMEs have gotten a lion's share, I would say. How do you see this budget, and what really changes from here?
I'm really happy after many years. I mean, Minister has focused 4 engines of economy. And in that, MSMEs are brought on the surface. There is a special thrust on MSMEs. She has realized, she kept on talking about how MSMEs are important. I am really happy that MSMEs are now given importance, and especially manufacturing sector. I mean, redefining the MSME itself is a very interesting phenomenon by raising the limits to 2 or 2.5%. That is something really great, which means more is expected from MSME. MSMEs more, are supposed to create more jobs. So naturally there is an encouragement to MSMEs. Credit guarantee limit is increased from 5 crore to 10 crores. For startups from 10 crore to 20 crores is really encouraging. Of course, at the same time, Minister has removed the tariff of 7 tariffs are removed. So I don't know how much industries, MSMEs especially, will be protected. But overall, I think it's very encouraging. The second important point is, we can see after many years of budgets that the focus is given on nuclear power generation. About 100 gigawatt is supposed to be generated by 2047, and for that there is a provision of around 20 crores to establish 5 small modular reactors. This will create many opportunities for MSMEs, or establishing a urea plant in Assam. This will create many opportunities for MSMEs. So I think this is a very encouraging budget for MSMEs in India, and I hope this will mainly help in creating more jobs.
Okay, so Sakal, yes, he has mentioned, and he has mentioned the point of view of MSMEs, and as he was speaking that, MSMEs can play a larger role when it comes to, producing smaller equipments or necessary equipments for the large manufacturing. Now we are also talking about startups over here. Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, she has laid thrust on the startups also, and how the innovation, R&D and everything will play an important role in putting India at that global map. Over here also we could say that these startups, earlier at for an example, if a person who has that space background from IIT, he goes into ISRO or similar organization, they would usually get a chance 10 years or 15 years into that particular job. But now, since startups and the entire ecosystem have gotten such a great ecosystem rather, so the person who's just started his startup can actually contribute to the nation's development, and especially when we're talking about the security, national security and everything, which is very important.
Yes.
So the thrust laid on MSMEs,
we
startups
will come to you in a bit.
Yes,
Shama Mishra, we'll come to you in a bit, but this whole question about the National Manufacturing Mission and how it's going to really aid clean technology, I will take one comment, but before that, now the reactions have started coming in very fast. First one from one of the first reactions coming in from Union Minister Amit Shah. Budget 2025 is the blueprint of the Modi government's vision towards building a developed and best India in every field. Viksit Bharat, that's what we were talking about earlier. The budget which covers every sector from farmers, poor, middle class, women and children's education, nutrition and health to startup, innovation and investment. This is a roadmap for Modi ji's self-reliant India. I congratulate Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji and Finance Minister for this comprehensive and visionary budget, quote unquote. Yes, Prasanjit, you wanted to speak.
Well, I'll address two things. First of all, the benefits that have come through are focused very heavily on labor-intensive manufacturing. Things like leather, food processing, toy manufacturing. Toy manufacturing is a very small sector in India at the moment. But there's a slew of incentives actually that have been provided over several years now. That continues here, and I think textiles and garments are another thrust area that present a huge opportunity now. Especially, I'd say that if you look at Bangladesh, all the largest entrepreneurs are in jail because they were close to Hasina. So there's an opportunity to attract some of those companies to invest in the neighboring states, in Bihar, in West Bengal, in Assam and Orissa, instead of being stuck in Bangladesh and in jail. So, I think we have that opportunity. Providing incentives for labor-intensive manufacturing is a significant positive. Now, it also is a positive in the long term because it creates employment. It allows the transformation of the employment in the economy as people move from agriculture, where productivity is low, to manufacturing, where average productivity is about 4 times what it is in agriculture. So that process will be facilitated by by first of all notifying the labor reforms of 4 years ago, and also the incentives provided in this budget to the whole labor-intensive manufacturing sector. Now, why is the market not so enthused? I think partly markets want incentives for all parts of the existing. Now, you see, this time the budget has focused on trying to uplift parts of the economy that haven't done well.
Okay.
Labor-intensive manufacturing, I'd say we've lost every opportunity in the last 75 years. So, even with the WTO removing the multi-fiber arrangement between 1995 and 2007, there was a huge opportunity for India. That opportunity went to China and eventually to Bangladesh and Vietnam. So we still have an enormous opportunity to gain market share, where we're the 4th biggest exporter of textiles and garments in the world. But between us and number one, the number one, China, has about 9 times the exports that we do. So there is a huge opportunity to close that gap. And I think that is what this budget helps towards doing. And this is part of a continuum. We've seen this, we've seen a set of measures coming through over several years, including the labor code reforms of September 2020, which really haven't been fully implemented yet, haven't been notified. And there's some confusion about how exactly they will apply.
Okay. All right, point taken.
But I think the other interesting aspect is the states have been incentivized to
like Bihar and all. We'll talk about that.
We probably have to run in our bulletin right now. So a final word from you, Professor Katuria. There was so much in the economic survey about regulatory reform.
Right.
And we seem to just have some suggestion here about a light touch regulatory framework based on principles that put trust, based on trust to unleash productivity and employment. Absolutely. What do you think? What do you think are we going to expect here? So,
I think I will continue from what I was saying in my previous intervention, which is that there's a lot that has been said on governance, and it's extremely important that as we transition to a developed economy, we sort of incentivize the market to perform its role. Remember, post 1991, the role of the government sector has been reduced from intervention to a facilitator's role, to a regulatory role. That's what happened. In the middle, because the private sector wasn't investing, and it continues to sort of be a little low on investment, to incentivize the private sector to come in. What do you need? apart from boosting the middle class, as that has been done here, apart from boosting labor-intensive manufacturing, what the government needs to do, and I want to make 2 quick points here,
Sure, so we need
which is that you sort of implement what you say you're going to do. So it has to be high on implementation. Light touch should not remain rhetoric. You should actually do it and give the trust. You are not guilty until
on that point,
proven.
when she says trust first, scrutinize later.
So that's one important thing. The other is
so we need to take a very short break.
One more point.
Yes,
regulatory impact assessments. Do regulatory impact assessments.
We will come back to this discussion, a comprehensive discussion, but right now we really need to take a very short break. The discussion is getting very intense, and we will be back after this short break. Stay with us.
Wind up bulletin.